Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and today we are talking about the second ever PWHL game between the Ottawa, they don't have a name, and the Montreal don't have a name, which is a big issue that I have, and I will talk much more about it in a video tomorrow about my issues with the PWHL, and you'll hear more about them right now. But this game between Montreal and Ottawa was a much better experience than the first game they put on between New York and Toronto, because just everything was better. The commentating was better, the production was better, the game itself was much better. Everything that I could probably put my finger on and point to, I don't think New York and Toronto had anything close to this experience, and I wish PWHL, not that they would have had any guess of how things could have gone, could have rubbed a magic ball and seen which game to put on first, because this one was a much better one that made me kind of want to come back and rewatch games, because the first one, New York and Toronto, did not make me want to come back to see things. It was not attractive enough to go like, I want to return to this, but I did return and see this gun, and I'm glad I did that. So let's go into the actual game. So the pregame stuff, first of all, the intros, because that's what they jumped right into. There was no pregame like talking or much at all, because the YouTube stream was having a lot of issues. They couldn't get things going along, which is another thing that kind of shows that this organization isn't totally the best. But anyways, once they finally got things going, the intros for the home Ottawa team was fun. The announcer telling the names was fun, and instead of yesterday with Toronto having a flickering light where you can't see, and actually it was so bright that you couldn't freaking see anything either, so it's like the worst thing in the world. It was ridiculous yesterday, but then for this game today, they actually had a nice bright spotlight that you can see the players' faces, and the in-arena announcer was loud enough that you could actually hear who the players were, and they came out, and then everyone, and a couple of the names were very fun, especially when I don't remember her name, but the Japanese girl came out and all the crowd cheered. I was like, that was cool, because that was actually fun to see. But the intros were a lot more fun. I got to see the faces and get to know the names, and the captain came out and the lights all changed on the bracelets that the fans get. It was just a lot of fun. I really liked the way Ottawa introduced the teams, the boos as well, that they actually booed the Montreal team, and the girls actually had, like, I liked, they seemed more excited. They actually had big smiles on their faces, and the one, I don't remember who it was, but maybe it was the captain. But whoever it was, when they waved to the crowd, I don't know. Something about that was kind of cool to me. But anyways, moving on. The commentators were so much better in this one. And I know I'm not, talking about the game at all. I'll get to that. But the commentating was so much better for this game. I said in my last video, and I'll say it always, is that girl commentators that are quality and good seem to be either impossible to find or they don't exist. And this game, they found one. I do not know their names, but the girl commentators for this game were very good. I very much liked I think she was probably the color commentator. I don't think she was the main one. But she actually brought up some very interesting points to this team. I was complaining yesterday about the New York-Toronto game that they didn't tell us anything about the teams at all, and that's not really truly the commentator's fault, but regardless of, during the actual in-game stuff, they didn't tell us anything. When Ella Shelton scored the first goal ever, they didn't tell us anything about her. If she's a stud, if she's, the worst defenseman, it's kind of crazy that she has actually the one that scored the first goal ever. They didn't tell us a single thing about any of the players. This game, I was going into it and I'm like, I know some of the names of the players on these teams. I know Jenner, because she's the sister of Boone Jenner. I know a handful of the names. Of course, I know Pauline and Emily Clark. And I'm not going to try to run down all the names, but I know some of the names of these teams, but after that, it's things get very fuzzy. I don't know what to expect, and this girl actually was telling us that Ottawa was very offensively loaded, even from the back end. She brought up the back end of things, and I was like, thank you, and it showed off immediately in the game that she was right, that Ottawa was very offensive, while Montreal was more of a depth team, more of a, with Pauline being the upfront star, but more of a depth down the line. And that, I feel like that kind of showed, but Ottawa's really running the game, so that never got to really show up. But anyways, I really like what she brought up. I liked her. She was very good. I don't know who her name was. I should have looked that up, but oh well. And she brought up player facts that I really like. She actually brought up that the girl who scored the no goal was like the MVP for her something, and I was like, oh, so she is like good. She's not just like some random fourth liner. She's like an actually decent player who's like has like a good history of like growing and being a good player. So I like that. But anyways, commentating was good and the uniforms were nice. The uniforms were nice enough. I personally like the cream sand color of Montreal's. I like it when teams do that. On that jersey though, not the biggest fan of that. I feel like it needs to be more reserved if it's going to be used like how Vegas used it on their jersey. Or like how Ottawa used to on that jersey. I don't think it should be like I don't know. It didn't really work with that jersey, but I liked that color. So good with that. Just need a different design, which is another thing I'll talk about in my criticism of the PWHL. And the goalie gears were sick. They were so sweet. I really liked the goalies. That they looked very nice. But then, finally, it's game time. Finally to talk about the actual game. And I'm not going to go down and break down the whole entire game. The main thing that I got to point out is Ottawa was running the show. Ottawa was so freaking good. They were very fast. They were so energetic. The goaltender was strong when they needed to be. And the team was fun to watch, and immediately it was a better game than New York and Toronto. New York and Toronto was like very physical and very slow and not very chemistry between the two teams or even teams themselves. There wasn't a lot of like big passes or anything. This game had so much energy where the teams were actually like crashing the net, moving along the boards, getting it to the middle, some breakaways and 2-on-1s. And some like decent puck movement in the offensive zone, and it was all Ottawa. That was not Montreal. Montreal would get their chances once the breakout machine known as Marie-Philippe Pauline would break it down the ice herself. But other than that, it was all Ottawa throughout. At least I would say this first and second period was basically all Ottawa. Montreal started making a little bit of strides in the second, but I'd still say it was much Ottawa's game to win. And it's kind of a shock that they didn't to me, because they should have. And that's another issue I have with this league, is that there isn't. I get like the first two games, right? The first game was 4-0, and this one's 3-2. That means 4 goals scored in the first game, 5 goals in this one, right? Which is a scoring league, but all the scoring comes late for these teams. And I have an issue with that. Is that throughout this game, I started getting. Even though it was much more energetic and I was having fun watching it, there were so many power plays, and people were complaining about that in there, like, oh, the refs are clearly going for Ottawa. People are just full of it. Did you see the penalties? But anyways, even though there were so many power plays, it didn't feel like it mattered, because Ottawa and how good these teams are, it just didn't feel like anything was ever going to go in the back of the net. And this wasn't like a case where like Schroeder yesterday, where just like it felt like no matter what Toronto did, they would never score. But in this game, it just felt like that because of the lack of speed, and that just by the way the things work, these girls do not shoot the puck as fast as a guy does. They do not move as fast as the guys do. And a hockey net is 6x4, right? 6 feet by 4 feet tall, right? When these players are coming in, when Jack Hughes can skate down the ice and cut across the goaltender and backhand it top shelf, right? Why is he able to do that? When look at how close the goaltender was to saving it. When he does that against John Gibson, and it's that puck moving across, Gibson is within inches and centimeters of making that save, but he was just off. Why is that goal go in? Because Jack Hughes is just so amazingly fast, and his shot is incredible. These girls, take that no-goal call that was on in the second period, that they finally scored a goal and wasn't, right? Why does that not get scored on? If that was a player like Jack Hughes or Connor McDavid, or like a Matthew Phillips even, right? You want to take a guy like that. They're going to score that goal because they have the speed and the shot to make that one go in the back of the net. These girls, it just doesn't feel like they can do anything like that to score a goal, unless you take a shot like Ella Shelton's goal, where you actually get that like a screen and a quick shot on net where the goaltender isn't ready for it. It feels like as long as the goalies are ready in these games so far, they're going to make the save. And it's just kind of frustrating at times because it's not like Vasilevsky putting on a show. It's just like Vasilevsky getting a simple shot on net. It's like, oh, well, he saved it again. And it does make it sort of more exciting because it's like, oh my god, who's going to finally score? Like, this is nuts. And then finally it drags down on you, and I don't know. This might just be me, but I just the lack of scoring throughout the game is kind of frustrating, especially when you have a team like Ottawa that is doing so good and just doing everything they can to score, and they just can't. It starts to go like, oh, like, score already. Like, you should be winning 3-0 already by the end of the first period, and you haven't scored a goal. I don't know. It might just be me, and that might be horrible, but that's what I think. Anyways, but one player that I just love, the two standouts for me to watch was Emily Clark and Pauline. Those two skating down the ice are so fast. Emily Clark had a couple, I don't know if she ever got an actual true breakaway, but her skating, she is so fast. She's like, her and Pauline, and I'm sure a few other players, are the ones that would be quick enough to make those cut-across goalie shots, right? It's just they haven't really gotten that chance yet. But Pauline did, as she got a penalty shot, and she was unable to score. I think she should have, her chance, she was trying to do, like, the thing where you get the goalie to move and get ready for, like, to move over, but she does the 5-hole, and the goalie saw it coming a mile away. That was not it. And, yeah, so, anyways, the no-goal call, I really liked it. That was exciting, because I was like, yes! And then I was like, oh, that really was not a goal at all, wasn't it? And it was funny to see the girls on the ice, because when they looked up at when she looked at the Tron to see the replay, like, she wasn't even, like, mad. None of them were mad. They were just like, oh, it's like, clearly it wasn't a goal. Like, it wasn't even reviewable. It just literally was not. The puck didn't go in the net. It went under the net. So, yeah. So this game, then the third period, finally things started scoring, and eventually Montreal wins this game in overtime, winning the first ever overtime game in this league's history. And yeah, so overall, this game was fun to watch. This game was fun to watch, and I was not annoyed by it. And wasn't getting overly bored of it like I was with New York. But at the same time, there's a big issue with this league, and that is that there's not a lot that makes me want to come back to this. Because immediately after that game, I went over and I watched the Rangers and the Hurricanes. And immediately I was like, there's so much more pressure, and there's so much more happening, and there's so much more intensity in this game. And I was just like, why did I just spend 3 hours or whatever watching that game? Then this one has been on. And I don't know how you change that. I don't know what it is, but there's something missing from this league. And I don't know if it's the scoring, and I don't know what it is. But there's something that is unattractive to come back to. There's nothing making me go like, man, I want to come back and rewatch this. I want to come back and see the rest of this league's whole entire season. And I want to, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know what the issue is yet. And I get it that it's all just starting. It's just the second game, and things are still being worked out. But there's something missing from these games that go like, man, I don't know if I care to come back and see this. And I think it would have changed if Ottawa was able to score. If Ottawa was able to put on a clinic and just score 3 goals the first and second period, I'd be like, man, Ottawa's a machine. And then finally Montreal comes back and has a decent third period, and they make the game like maybe they score 2 goals and they get Ottawa to have 1. So the game ended like 7-2. I'd be like, man, Ottawa was a machine. They're just an offensive powerhouse. But because they can't score, and even though they're an offensive powerhouse, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to watch the next game. That's tonight between Boston and Minnesota. But I don't know. I don't know what to think right now. I'm still intrigued, but I'm not sold. And I guess we'll see what happens tonight, because tonight the first overall pick plays against the new captain, Hillary Knight. So I guess that's exciting to see. And I guess I have high expectations for this game. I think tonight's game is going to be the best one so far. I have a feeling this is going to be an actually scoring duet, where I think it'll be a 2-1 game at the end of the first. It'll be like 2-2 at the end of the second, and it'll end up being like 4-3 at the end of the third. That's what I want to see. I want to see an actually exciting game that has scoring, that has energy, and I think we're going to get that from this game. I don't know why, I just have a feeling. And I'm hoping so. So, anyways, I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than the PWHL has a lot of work to do, and it hasn't sold me yet. It hasn't sold me yet, and I want it to. But, anyways, yes, that's it. So, if you've made it this far, please, I'm begging you, pick up your free subscription down below. All you gotta do is hit that red subscribe button. And until next time, too sweet. I hope you have a fantastic day, and ta-ta for now.